This is Kenyatta Avenue now. This was one of the busiest. This is one of the busiest streets in downtown Nairobi. Our office, an office where Dad spent a lot of his time, where he built the press center, is just off this street here.
The business expanded. Dad went into publishing and began to make documentaries, especially in areas where his religion gave him an edge over non-believers.
He went to Mecca many times. He did a book on Mecca, he did a film on Mecca. He was the first person to be allowed to photograph and film the Hajj, and I think he saw that as an exclusive opportunity and obviously used his religion and his background to get in. He believed in a God. He was an overly religious person, but he did do the Hajj numerous times. He did go and pray at the mosque on Eid, but he wasn't someone that shoved religion down your throat.
I'm not a fanatic, he said, but I pray, for example, when I take off in a plane and when I'm landing. In years to come, that prayer was to go unheeded. By now, CameraPix had taken off. It was flying, and it could live with the big boys. Dad couldn't do it all himself. He had to delegate. Being a one-man band was no longer an option.
Viz News Africa joined hands with Delhi to cover the Afghanistan story from both sides. My team went into Afghanistan with the Mujahideen. It was bloody. My contacts in Pakistan are invaluable at every level, especially the armed forces. They are still the people who make things happen in that country.
Dad's contacts in the Muslim world were impressive, particularly in Pakistan, where he did some of his finest work. He shot his documentary, Battle on the Roof of the World, in the dizzying altitude of the Siachen Glacier, high up in the Himalayas. Here, the Indian and Pakistani armies face one another on the highest battlefield on Earth. The driving force behind CameraPix was Dad, Brian Tetley, and Duncan Willits. Dad and Tetley were killed on the same day. Willits talks of the blood spilled on the carpet at that time.
What was the problem?
He couldn't manage people. He was absolutely appalling. It really devastated me, the way we went through top-rate professionals. And it was shock horror, to be honest. How suddenly one guy just got up one morning and left, and we really could have done with him. CameraPix, to be honest, would have been a better and more profitable and a more productive company had he been less pig-headed, arrogant, egotistical, all right, and allowed himself to listen occasionally to other people.
Patrick Muiruri worked for Dad as a cameraman at the Chester House office from 1990 to 1994.
In the office, very strict, on time, punctual, everything. First guy to come in the morning, last guy to leave in the evening, right? And everything had to work. You couldn't come to Mohamed and say, oh, we can only do this if this happens. No ifs. It's either you can do it or he decides it cannot be done, right? But for me, you kill yourself just to make sure that it's going to happen. Out in the field, the moment you walk out of the office, and go out on assignment, totally different person. He's cracking jokes, he's telling you funny stories of where he's been, what he's done, how he's conned customs people or policemen or soldiers in some funny country. Amazing. But the moment you walk back into the office again, it changes. Back to being the boss.
Did you ever ask for a day off?
I did. Actually, I didn't. It was the doctor who recommended a day off. Because I was doing a lot of Somali in those days, working a lot of editing for the NBCs, the American networks, the French, the Italians, which meant, working for the Americans meant you finished editing about 2 in the morning to put the pictures through for their offices. And I'd be on a plane the next morning at 6. And I was doing these cycles, fly into Somalia, come out, edit, transmit, fly again the next morning. At one point I just thought, am I going crazy or what? I'm young, I'm like 20 years old. And basically, I can't operate. So I went to see a doctor. Blood pressure was way up there. And the doctor was like, what's wrong with you? And I told him what was wrong. And he came back and said, well, I'm going to recommend you take these medications and you take 5 days off. So I went home, took my medication, and I called Mom and I said, the doctor says I need to take some time off. And he says, what's the problem? I said, the doctor says I'm stressed and I need to relax. And the guy says, bloody hell, stress is a white man's disease, you're not stressed.
Chaos. This used to be a fairly good area, and now it's become sort of, you know, the main bus station for this region, and it's just difficult to move around. This is not even rush hour, but he was, you know, his office was also in this building, and Tom Mboya was assassinated just down the road. This is why he got there so quickly. When he was given that call by the doctor, Dr. Rafiq, this is how he made it so quickly, because he was just up the road, and he managed to get in before anybody else did.
Tom Mboya was an up-and-coming politician. He was a government minister and expected to succeed Jomo Kenyatta as Kenya's head of state. Festooned as usual with assorted cameras, Dad rushed to the nearby murder site. Coolly he recorded the frantic efforts of the medical team to save the life of the dying politician. Tom Mboya was a Luo, his assassin a Kikuyu. The tribal tensions that fester below the surface in Kenya erupted.
It was a huge scoop for him, and established him in Kenya, which was a new territory to him, as being the top dog in terms of news. And it earned him his first British Cameraman of the Year award from the UK, the first of many awards that were to follow. He's now arrived, as they say, and the news broadcasters that always knew about his ability and his capability of getting into situations and getting pictures. This proved beyond all doubt that he was the best there was.
He also acquired an attractive young wife, a glamorous fashion model called Dolly Kaki, my mother.